Hello, Year 10. This is Mr. Perez, and this is your tutorial video on your first assessment task on civil rights and freedoms. So in this video, we are going to go over the directions of the assessment task, as well as look at a template and break down what you have to do. So here we go. So highlighting first, this task weighs 30% of your grade. It's given to you today, the 16th of August, and the due date is Friday, the 30th of August, 2019, so 2 weeks from today. So take the time to highlight that now. Now this assessment is going to be submitted on Turnitin. Okay, so make sure you get your Turnitin code from myself. It is also located on the Google Classroom. Now let's get into the task. This task is comprised of two parts. You must complete parts A and B to meet the requirements for this assessment. We're going to go over each of the different parts. Part A, you must choose two sources, one written and one visual, that would be of value to a historian studying the background to the struggle of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples for rights and freedoms before 1965, based on one of the following topics: the stolen generation, the day of mourning 1938, the assimilation policy, and the role of protection boards. Now, let's highlight real quick what type of source you will need. So you need to find a source, one written, one visual, that would be of value to a historian studying the background to the struggle of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples for their rights and freedoms before 1965. Okay, so you are looking for information that demonstrates the struggle. Now let's continue on. So you must choose one of the following topics, and then for each of the topics, all right, you'll need to get one written and one visual source. Each source, what you must provide for each source, and I'll go over the template a little bit later, but you need author, creator, citation, and a date and place of publication. For the written source, the source must be no more than 100 words in length. It must not be a video clip or a book or a newspaper clipping. If, let's say, for example, you find an old newspaper, simply remove the text from the newspaper and copy it onto a just Word document, because you have your citation anyway, so you don't need the picture of a newspaper article. Okay, just simply get the words. That's all that we care for, is that the source, the text. Remember, the source must be provided. Okay, it must be an excerpt. It can be an excerpt from a larger source. You must then complete the following question. Explain how reliable your two sources would be for a historian studying the background to the struggle for rights and freedoms for Indigenous people before 1965. So you have to explain how reliable your source is to studying our inquiry question, right, which goes back to the struggle for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders receiving their rights. Okay, so your job for part A is to describe how reliable your source will be to answer this question, to show the struggle for the rights and freedoms of Aboriginal people. Now, how do we do this? Well, in your response, you are to consider three of the following source features and how they impact reliability. Now, we have perspective, motive, bias, author, creator, origin, context, date of creation, and intended audience. Now, I'm going to provide you guys with a Google Slides presentation that describes each of these source features in detail. But essentially, you're explaining these things, these source features here, and with these source features, you can really tell if a source is reliable. All right, you can use it to give you information about our topic. Now, each source will need an explanation. So each source should have about one paragraph attached to it. All right. Part A should be a total of 500 words. So about 250 words per source. And we'll go over again the format a little bit later. Now, part B, okay, the second part to the task. Use your two sources and research to answer the following question. So you must use your two sources that you found and do some extended research for a detailed answer. This is the question you must answer. Explain the significance of your topic in contributing to the struggle for rights and freedoms for Indigenous Australians. You must specifically refer to both sources in your response and show evidence of wider research. This part B should be approximately 500 to 600 words in length. This is equaling about 3/4 of a page to about 1 1/4 of a page long. It's not going to be an extremely long essay. You really just need to get to the point. Now, the outcomes being assessed here are HT5-3, explain the actions of groups and events in contributing to the civil rights movement in Australia. HT5-5, locate relevant historical sources. And then HT5-5 again, determine the reliability of visual and written sources. Okay, now the submission, okay, it is going to be submitted on Turnitin. Okay, so when you submit for Turnitin, if you are working on an Apple computer and use Pages, the word processing program, you need to make sure you save it as a PDF because Turnitin does not read Pages files. So please save it as a PDF or convert it to a Word document, please. Also, it needs to be submitted by 8:30 a.m. And I'm going to make a point here. Make sure that your name and your teacher's name are on your sheet. Again, make sure your name and your teacher's name are typed onto your sheet. It takes a long time for us to write your name in if you forget to do it. And the longer, if we have to take time to write your name, the longer it's going to take us to mark your papers and get them back to you. So please write your name or type your name into your document. Number 2, do not submit this assessment task notification into Turnitin, or else your similarity report will go up. Now let's continue on. We have our marking criteria. So the marking criteria is broken up into the 2 outcomes. Now we should all be aiming for outstanding. Provide 2 relevant sources. So the first component, provide 2 relevant sources, correctly identifies all aspects of both sources. This has to do with the source that you provide. Do you have a actually good source? Or please make sure, if you're confused, that you ask me or another history teacher, and you have to identify all aspects. So that's the author, citation, date and place of publication. The next one makes a sophisticated judgment which demonstrates a thorough understanding of both sources in the context and their reliability. All right, so again, this goes to our response. All right, have you made a sophisticated judgment if it is reliable? And are you using both context, reliability, all those different source features? The third component, clear, accurate reference to at least 3 relevant elements of reliability for both sources. This goes back to the source features. Did you identify at least 3 of those components? And again, those 3 components need to be able to show that it is a reliable source to our inquiry question. Part B. The first component provides a sophisticated explanation of the significance of the chosen topic to the struggle for rights and freedoms. Okay? Sophisticated explanation of the significance. Okay, how is your topic significant to demonstrate the struggle for rights? The next component to the Part B provides a critical, complex, and well-sustained response with specific balanced use of 2 sources and knowledge. What does that mean? Are you writing in complete sentences? Are you writing in paragraphs that flow? Does your paper have an order to it? Okay, all of this counts because the better you write and the better you structure your writing, the more clear your reasons are going to become. Now, on the stage 5 late policy, there's two components to this. If you do not submit by 8:30, you you have not submitted, you will need to provide a doctor's certificate or some sort of proof of misadventure. This goes to your deputy principal, and then the deputy principal gives your teacher the okay that you were away for a good reason. If you do not provide it by 8:30 a.m. and you have no proof of illness or misadventure, then you will be marked a 0 in the book and you will get a end warning notification. Okay, you will still need to do the assessment to clear the end warning notification. The second part to this, if your similarity report and turn it in is over 30%, it will be reviewed by your teacher. And if we deem it plagiarized, you will get a 0 in the mark book, and you will receive an end warning notification, and you will need to redo the assessment in order to get the similarity report under 30%. If it's over 30% again, you will have to do it again to get your end warning notification cleared. Now, let's go over the template. So, we have our part A. So, in part A, let's say we want put source 1 and you will have your picture. Underneath your picture, author, creator, date and place of publication, citation, which is the URL, if you got it from a website. Next, you'll write your paragraph underneath that. So for each source, you should have approximately about 250 words. And again, you are addressing the source features in order to prove reliability. Now, here's a very important thing. For your source analysis, you should only be focusing on the source you have found. What does the source you have found tell you about the struggle for Indigenous people to receive their rights? Don't start quoting other sources outside of the source you are analyzing. It is solely about the source you have found. You are only focusing your analysis on the source you have right in front of you, nothing else. Do not start applying your background information, but what does this source tell you on its own? That is what you should be writing about and showing its reliability for. So we have source 1, and then we have source 2, our written response. All right, it could be very simple like this. Like I said, do not take a picture of a newspaper front page and then paste it in there and say that's your written source. Find the words, retype them in, copy the words, paste them in very simply like you see here, and make sure that they are 100 words. It is only up to 100 words. Again, no book covers, no pictures of anything. Just write the text into the box. Very simple. Underneath, you have your location of your source, you have your author, date and publication, and your URL. And then again, underneath that, you have your paragraph, approximately 250 words, where you are demonstrating the reliability of this source using the source features. So that is part A. Source, location of source, citation, paragraph. Source, citation, paragraph. That's part A. Part B should be on the same file, all right, where you answer the question. Explain the significance of your topic in contributing to the struggle for rights and freedoms for Indigenous people. Now, I've highlighted here the key words that we need to identify, all right? So you need to explain the significance, which we do all the time in our ID6, of your topic. So you can always erase that. And if you, let's say you chose the stolen generation, explain the significance of the stolen generation Or if you did the assimilation policy, explain the significance of the assimilation policy and then contributing to the struggle for rights and freedoms for indigenous people. Break down your question like this and answer the question. What is it asking you to give? It's asking you for the significance of your topic and contributing to the struggle. So you have to explain how your topic is contributing to the struggle. Okay? We've talked in detail about this information. Okay? If you have any questions and concerns, please come and see me sooner rather than later. Again, part B should be approximately 500 to 600 words. That is approximately 3/4 to about 1 1/4 page long. Okay, so it needs to be clear and concise. And again, sophistication means that you are using great descriptive words, your paragraphs flow together, and it answers the question. How does your topic significant to the contribution of struggle for rights and freedoms?